Mel,
And I'm Janelle.
and this is the Murder Mamas. Welcome.
Welcome.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing good.
We're
just going to jump right in. Today we have a survival story, though.
Ooh.
So we know at the end this is a bad bitch.
Oh, the baddest bitch?
The baddest bitch.
Nice.
Yes. All right. So in 1978, Mary Vincent was an outgoing, loved by everyone 15-year-old competitive dancer. Her dance instructors were confident Mary could have had a career in dance if that's what she had chosen to do. But one night, when Vincent was hitchhiking to her grandfather's house in California from Las Vegas, the future she envisioned for herself was torn away. Not just her future either. What happened to Mary Vincent that night and the events that unfolded in the decades following had changed California law.
Wow.
Yes, so there actually is a law that was passed. I'll talk about that at the end.
Okay.
Vincent grew up in Las Vegas and her... What?
Sorry, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Why was she hitchhiking if she was just 15?
So she had her home life wasn't that great. Her parents were divorcing and they were fighting all the time.
So was she running away?
She ran away. She ran away to live with her boyfriend for a little while and that didn't go well. And so she was hitchhiking she said she was just tired and she wanted to go back home. Like she was done being on the road.
So sad.
Yeah.
It's really rough for a 15-year-old,
yeah,
you know?
It's very young. Yeah.
That's so young.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Vincent grew up in Las Vegas and her parents worked for the casinos. Her mother was a dealer and her father as a machine repairman. Not atypical for teenagers, 15-year-old Vincent often skipped school and later took off with her boyfriend. She lived with him for a summer in Salcedo, California until authorities apprehended him on rape charges.
Wait, for raping her or someone else?
For raping her because she was underage and he was overage.
Oh.
So, statutory rape.
And that's a far way to run.
Yeah.
You know, from...
Yeah.
As a 15-year-old.
Yeah. Hitchhiking was very popular back in 1978.
Every single question I had, just answer. You're like, Janelle, shut the fuck up and let me talk.
No, it's fine. It elongates the episode.
You'll hear the same thing 3 times.
That's okay. It's our podcast.
It is our podcast, and I don't care what anyone says.
Hitchhiking was very popular back in 1978, a time when many people didn't own cars. Mary was one of them. Obviously, she wasn't 16. Desperately trying to get her to her grandpa's house to get out of her home she lived in with her divorcing parents, Mary, along with 2 others, were hitchhiking. All 3 hitchhikers were holding the same sign and were going to the same place. So, these 2 other hitchhikers didn't know Mary, but there were 3 of them all standing in the same bus stop area and holding a sign saying we need to go out west. And so
I'm telling you, the 70s were wild, man.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is my husband did a hitchhiking from Michigan. No, not Michigan. A different state. Wisconsin? That's the cheese one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wisconsin all the way to California.
Seriously? By himself?
By himself, in 2014.
Why?
He wanted to.
Because he wanted.
Yeah.
He wasn't scared?
Well, he's a guy.
Yeah.
Guys don't live life that way.
I guess not.
No, I wasn't scared.
Huh.
Yeah. And he, went to Chicago and, all these different places. He, found himself.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So I guess it's still common.
Yeah.
If you're my husband.
Yeah.
In 2014.
Yeah.
Can't speak for anyone else.
Yeah. All right. Lawrence Singleton slowed down his van to pick up Mary Vincent in Berkeley, California on the morning of September 29th, 1978. The 2 other people told Mary not to get into his car because his van was empty and he was only willing to take Mary.
That's smart.
But being 15, Mary saw no problem with Singleton as she thought of him as a grandpa type. He was older, a 60-year-old man. And she said in the show I Survived, she was thinking, hey, what could be the worst that could happen? He's a 60-year-old, older man and I'm 15. I could totally outrun him. So
You know what I'm thinking of?
What?
There's in one of our episodes you talk about like walking past a killer.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, your mom always feels bad for people in wheelchairs, and you're like, you don't know who they killed. That's what this reminds me of.
It's true. It's true.
You gotta stay suspicious and vigilant with everyone. You
everybody.
cannot be comfortable.
No.
Ever. Even in your own home.
No.
With all the doors locked and your dog's on it 100% of the time.
All the time. Singleton was a merchant seaman by trade, and upon finding Vincent, told her with a kind smile that he had a daughter just about her age. He also told her he'd been heading to Reno, but would happily change course to take her to Los Angeles. Red flag. Yeah.
They're just going up
one after another. Her destination, Corona, California, was on the outskirts of the city, and she initially accepted his family man demeanor.
I have another quick question.
Yeah.
Couldn't she have gone to like a payphone and called her grandpa?
Yeah, you would think so.
Is there like any way that he could have just picked her up?
I would think. Yeah, but she didn't want to do that. She was just hitchhiking.
Well, I mean, she's
15. She's got her own mind. Mary immediately fell asleep in Singleton's car, and when she woke, they were nowhere near California. When she asked what was going on, he replied he was sorry and would get back on the right path.
Oh.
But before this, Singleton stopped the van to go to the bathroom, so Vincent got out to stretch her legs. And then this is when she was thinking, hey, if I can totally outrun this guy. So she leaned down and saw that her shoelace was untied, so she tied that. I was going to take off running after that was done, but Singleton caught her by surprise. He beat her across the back of the head, punching her until she fell. Singleton forced his penis into her mouth and told her to perform oral sex or else she would die. Then he dragged her to the back of the van and raped her repeatedly. He told her not to scream or he'd kill her and to obey him if she wanted to live.
Yeah. That went from like...
0 to 100.
Yeah. Really ramped up fast.
Mm-hmm. Just wait. Do you know about this story?
I don't think I've ever heard this story.
Yeah, she's a bad bitch. Just remember, she survived this. Like, she's a survivor. He then bound her hands behind her and drove for a while. Eventually, he came to a stop, cut her hands free, and ordered her to drink some unknown alcohol from a plastic jug. Woozy and confused, Vincent was repeatedly raped until she passed out.
Oh my God, what a nightmare.
Yes. When Vincent regained consciousness, Singleton was still there. He ordered her to lie on the edge of the road, and she pleaded with him to set her free. He began saying, "You want to be free? I'll set you free," as he went to the van to find something. He returned with a hatchet. Mary struggled as Singleton held her down and cut off her right arm. She screamed as he moved on to the other arm, severing it right before the elbow.
What?
Right below the elbow. Yes.
What?
So she was saying that she was holding on to him and screaming so loud as he's, hacking her arms, and she's falling back and she can't understand why she's falling, and she has grabbed onto him. But her hand was still...
But you could still see her hand?
Her hand was still on his arm, grabbing it, and she was falling back. Yeah.
I know no one can see my face, but it's like...
The way she said it, she was like, I just was holding on to him so tightly, and I kept falling back, and I kept falling back, and I couldn't understand why.
He hacked off her arms?
He hacked off both of her arms.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to keep reminding myself she survived.
She survived. And she's 15. Or she was 15.
I assume she's not 15.
Yeah, she's not 15 anymore. As an adult appearing in the show I Survived, Mary Vincent explains what went through her mind the moment of the hatchet attack. Quote, "He took my left arm and took one swing, and I started to fall, and then he took another swing, and I grabbed his arm, grabbed it real tight, and I couldn't figure out holding him real tight on his arm, but I'm still falling," unquote.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, that's so bad.
Wow.
Ugh. He then shoved Mary, naked and bleeding, down an embankment into a culvert. He stuffed her into
What's a culvert?
it's like a little, I don't know, like a ditch,
Okay, like a gully?
maybe.
Actually, I don't know what a gully is
I don't
either.
know. Maybe I should have Googled it.
No, it's
I
fine.
just figured I knew it was like a ditch or something.
Okay.
I'll just say ditch. We'll just change it.
You know what like in when you drive through Arizona and they say like a wash?
Yeah.
Like, what is a wash? Why are there so many words for the same thing, seemingly? I'm sure they have different purposes and reasons, but like,
Yep.
seems strange.
Yep.
So many words.
Okay. He then shoved Mary, naked and bleeding, down an embankment into a culvert. He stuffed her into a concrete pipe and told her, "Okay, now you're free." He left her there unconscious and near death and drove off. So I think he thought she was going to die.
What?
Yeah.
Where was this? Was this in California?
No, I don't know where this was. He drove out somewhere other, I don't know exactly where.
Okay.
Yeah. When Vincent regained consciousness, she was in a dire state. She was at the bottom of a ravine, bleeding profusely, alone and naked. She mustered the strength to stand up and walk the 3 miles out of the culvert, which she later found out was the Del Puerto Canyon. She followed the sounds of the nearby freeway and raised her arms to keep the bleeding to a minimum.
Jesus, this girl.
Basically, I didn't put in there before, she had taken her arms and put them down on the ground and stuffed them full of, packed them full of dirt so it would make like a mud, so the bleeding would stop.
Oh my God.
And then held them above her head so that the blood would just, keep going down her arms instead of out her body. I think she initially lost half of her blood.
Oh my God.
Like by the time she made it to the hospital.
How was she like standing?
I don't know. She had a will to live.
Lost a lot of blood during like childbirth.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I couldn't shower by myself for like a week.
Yeah.
Because I would get so dizzy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Upon reaching the freeway, the first people who spotted her sped away in fear.
Oh, I want to think I would stop, but I'm pretty sure I would like, no.
It was 2 men in a convertible, and she said, she goes, "I don't blame them for speeding away," because she's like, "I'm there, I don't have any arms, I'm naked, I've got blood covering me, like, who would stop?"
Yeah,
That's
like, you're like, is this like a zombie?
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, and so she even said in the show, like, "I don't blame them for just driving by, because I must have been a sight."
It reminds me of a movie that I can't think of right now. I want to say Texas Chainsaw Massacre, maybe?
Mm.
And, like, the girl's, like, crying in the back of the car.
Yeah.
And, like, bleeding.
I think I know what
from
you're
between
talking.
her legs. I can't remember, though.
Yeah.
But that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah. A second couple who had been traveling on vacation, I think they were on their honeymoon, and they had gotten lost, actually, and so they were driving around trying to find their way back to the freeway, stopped to help her. They wrapped her up in linens from their car before driving her to a nearby airport. There, they called an ambulance. All she could say was, "He raped me."
What angels they are.
Yeah, right?
And honestly, her for surviving. Oh my God.
Yes. Mary's description of Singleton was so clear and detailed that when the police sketch went live, Singleton's neighbor immediately recognized him and reported him to police. So it was that great of a sketch that his neighbor, who he was friends with, reported him to the police.
Wow, well, good job to that neighbor.
Yeah. So, during her recovery, specialists fit Vincent with prosthetics, and she returned to school adapting to her new disability. When authorities apprehended Singleton, Vincent testified against him. Singleton insisted Vincent was a prostitute, claiming he hadn't committed the crime. He also maintained someone else had been in the car, and Vincent had threatened him with a false accusation. Singleton called her a, quote, $10 a night whore.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And also the idea that even if she was a sex worker, she somehow, like, deserved that.
Yeah.
Is also, like,
disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
What a piece of shit, man.
Yeah.
What a piece of shit.
He is a piece of shit. Larry Singleton was released after 8 years for good behavior, even though at the trial, as he was leaving, he told Mary, quote, "I'll finish this job if it takes me the rest of my life." And even though multiple psychiatrists at the San Quentin prison
Princeton.
prison where he was reported a paranoid personality, severe schizo, and capable of angry and destructive outbursts on those weaker than he. So, that said, I think the maximum amount of years was 14 for that crime at the time in California. So for rape, for kidnapping, for cutting off her arms, for leaving her to die, the maximum...
That has to be attempted murder.
Maximum sentence was 14 years, and he got out in 8 for good behavior.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How do you ever feel safe again?
I don't know how you could as a survivor. Especially when you... Yeah.
And knowing that they're not in prison.
And then when he said that, I'll finish his job if it takes me the rest of my life.
And I'm assuming, like, he just randomly was driving by, like, prowling for people?
Yeah, probably. So this probably was not his first. I mean, he was in his 60s, so there's no way this is his first. So, Vincent was terrified. At home, she was having trouble with her family and felt isolated at her specialized school for the handicapped. She moved away as soon as she graduated and became secretive about her life and location. Traumatized and depressed, Vincent became anorexic, had trouble leaving the house, and saw many of her close relationships fall apart.
Aww.
She ended up living in fear for years.
Poor girl. That's like so sad.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. The
It's
trauma.
so sad.
Yes. Towns in California refused to allow Singleton to move or live there, isolating him and making it so he could not rejoin society as intended.
Good job.
Singleton ended up spending his parole in a trailer on the San Quentin grounds under a curfew and the watch of guards. He joined Alcoholics Anonymous and claimed he was sober. Meanwhile, Vincent remained in hiding. Yeah, he's a piece of work. Yeah, so he couldn't stay, like, every town that he went into, they, like, totally ran him out and were like, no, we know what you did, you're not going to live here. So he had to stay on the grounds in a trailer on the grounds. Yeah. Good.
I mean,
Good.
He deserves to be in jail.
Yeah, he should have still been in jail. Mary Vincent was not the only one who feared Singleton. His own daughter, Deborah, spoke at length about the nature of her father and what he was like as a dad. She went on to say how her mom told her once she was lucky to have turned out okay since her father beat her mother while she was pregnant. When she found out he was getting out of jail, she also fled and hid, asking law enforcement if there was any way they could keep him behind bars for longer.
Oh my God.
Considering how he had used his status as a father to lure Mary into his car, it only made sense. In her own words, quote, "I asked California prison personnel what could be done to keep him in longer, and I was told there was nothing. They suggested I obtain a restraining order at the time of his release. Sorry, but I mean this quite sarcastically. I tell you he is a danger. I said that before the first crime. I've changed my name multiple times and am moving across state lines. And you all suggest a piece of paper that will tell him exactly where I am, what my name is, and not to come within, say, 300 feet of me."
I mean, she has a point.
She has a very valid point.
Like, I'm taking all the steps to hide.
Right. And
why would I just lure him right to me?
Yeah. So I have Deborah's concerns were valid as her father continued to commit crimes against women after his release.
Oh.
So it's not
great.
We're not done.
He's not rehabilitated at all.
No. Prison didn't help him.
Okay.
Finding California less than welcoming, Singleton moved back to his home state of Florida, where he was arrested in 1990 for petty theft.
Of course he's a Florida man.
Yeah, I know, right? Florida, damn it.
I'm just kidding, Florida.
No, we're not. He was sentenced to 2 years, but only served a fraction of the time. Because, you know.
What's the point?
I know.
What's the point?
A repeat violent offender. Sorry.
Dun, 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 dun.
That would be my mom.
What's the point?
I don't know if they're, yeah.
Like, here, we're giving you this sentence and then just, like, be in jail for 6 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand the judicial system.
I don't either. In 1997, after his release, he lured a young prostitute by the name of Roxanne Hayes into his home where he attacked her. Neighbors called the police, hearing the noise. When the police arrived, they found Singleton covered in blood with the body of Hayes lying on the floor, dead. The mother of 3 had been stabbed multiple times in the torso. This time, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to death, the death penalty. He died in 2001 on death row, finally giving Vincent some sense of closure. However, his earlier release while serving the sentence for raping and dismembering Vincent left anger and sadness in those who thought Hayes' murder could have been prevented.
Of course
Obviously,
it could have.
Yes.
Oh,
Obviously.
that's so sad.
In 1998, Vincent went to Washington, D.C. to testify in favor of a congressional bill called the No Second Chances for Murderers, Rapists, or Child Molesters Act.
That's a lengthy title of a bill.
While appearing in front of members of Congress, Vincent shared details of her attack and how Singleton's lenient sentence allowed him to kill Roxanne Hayes nearly 20 years later. She concluded with this: I have now obtained the long overdue psychological counseling to help me get over my nightmares and fear. Yet sometimes I still feel like that confused 15-year-old runaway trapped in the body of a 35-year-old mother of 2. No one should ever have to go through what I went through or whatever the children of Roxanne Hayes will go through without their mother. Yeah. Today, Vincent is an accomplished artist with 2 adult sons. In an interview with the Seattle Post, she says she's a huge fan of The Lord of the Rings and considers herself to be a, quote, hobbit at home. Vincent is open and honest about her trauma, saying she struggled for years after the attack, but her art and raising a family helped her to heal and grow. Back in 2009, she spoke at a crime victims event in Ventura County, California, and shared her artwork. Mary Vincent's art often portrays powerful women as female action figures. Some may be scantily clad, others fully clothed, but all are self-assured and ready to fight. Vincent learned how to improve her arm prosthetics using spare parts and has a wider range of motion to better craft her illustrations, which she now sells. Mary Vincent says, I know, isn't that cool? Mary Vincent says that while Singleton's death did not grant her the peace she hoped for, she said that the relief she saw wash over her sons' faces when they learned that Singleton was gone for good may just have been enough for her too. Yeah. So that's the story of the badass Mary Vincent.
That is crazy.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's crazy. Like, she was so young.
So young. She said when she was lying there, she just wanted to go to sleep after her arms had been chopped off and she had been thrown down the hill. And she was just like, I just want to go to sleep. I'm so tired. Like, I know I'm going to die. Like, this is it. And then she said she heard something in the back of her head that said, no, you got to get up. You can't let this guy do this to other people, because if he gets away, he's going to continue to do it. And so she packed her arms full of dirt and she walked up that hill. And she said it took her all day. So I think it was like a 30-foot drop. And it took her, with no arms, walking up a hill. I think it took her all day to do it. And she finally got up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, how do you even think to, like, pack your arms with dirt?
Yeah.
That's literally not something I would
not right
consider.
after having my arms cut off. People freaking out.
You would think, like, just from the shock alone, it would be like,
yeah.
So how do you? I'm like, I'm just like
Speechless.
a loss for words, but like, how you survive that?
Yeah,
like such a badass. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then goes on to talk about it. So you can listen. She is on a show called I Survived, and you can watch her talk about. I mean, she tells it in her own words, so it's really cool to listen to somebody tell.
Yeah.
And so my sources were a blog, How Mary Vincent Survived Lawrence Singleton's Attack as a Teenager, a blog, True Crime, The Incredibly Disturbing and Pivotal Case of Mary Vincent, the Seattle Post, and the TV show I Survived.
So her trip to DC, it changed the laws, right?
Yes.
So do you know what the new ones are, or am I?
I did. I had them in my other notes, and then I took it out for some reason. I don't know why. But I remember having something in there written. I had a whole paragraph on it. I don't know what I did.
So is it like if you're a violent, like...
I think it extends the stay in jail or in prison.
Okay.
If
So
you're a
like the
violent
term
offender.
amount, like you can't get out for good behavior or
You
something?
can't get out after 14 years cannot be the maximum sentence.
Yeah.
I think is what that changed.
There's a lot of stuff recently, like I'm hearing a lot about, like, especially here in this area where like there's like bond.
Yeah.
So they're letting like violent offenders out on bond,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're continuing to be violent offenders.
Yeah, because that's what they are.
Yeah, and so like one guy, I think he like killed someone at Dickie's barbecue over like barbecue sauce.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was out on bond.
Oh, good.
And then there was that lady in the Facebook comment whose daughter got murdered by her husband who was out on bond. Did you read about that?
No, I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
No.
Yeah.
Huh. Why don't we just let all the people who have marijuana possession charges out and then just keep the violent offenders in? How's that?
I guess like the thought process on the other side of that is that it like negatively affects people of lower incomes because they can't afford to pay the bond.
Yeah.
So you're keeping them in jail, and like technically if they're not guilty, right, like if they haven't gone through a trial and been proven guilty, then there's a chance they could be innocent. So you could be keeping an innocent person in jail.
Yeah.
You know, or like there's that like super famous case in New York where that 15-year-old, I think, he was like super young, was in Rikers Island, which is like a horrible prison.
Yeah. A 15-year-old?
I don't know if he was 15, don't quote me on that. I can't remember his name. But he was very young, and he ended up committing suicide because he was in there for like years waiting for trial. And when he got out, he committed suicide.
Wow.
Because of everything he had to endure.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of things that can definitely be improved.
Oh, yeah.
And we've come a long way.
We have.
And, you know.
We have come a long way. There was a guy on TV, though, I was watching the news right before you came over, and he killed someone, got out on bond. It was a $50,000 bond. Mm-hmm. So he got out, and I'm thinking, okay, how does he have... I guess
he only put up like 10%.
He only put up 10%.
Something.
So okay, but I mean, he looked like a total thug.
It's tax time.
Yeah,
everyone has 5,000 in their account.
While he's out on bond, he murdered somebody else, went back to jail, and had a $1 million bond and bonded out again.
What?
Yes. So how does he have 10% of $1 million, which is what, $100,000? I don't know. I don't do math in my head. Ooh,
yes.
Yeah.
Wait. Yes.
Yeah. So he's out again. What's to say he's not going to kill somebody else on this second bond that he's out on?
Like a
local? It was on the local news station. Yeah. He's in like, I don't know.
Some other part of
Houston. But yeah.
Wow.
Just looked like a gangbanger. And I'm thinking, where does he get all this money from? Like, how are they bonding out? Drugs?
Probably some form of illegal money. Untaxed money.
That's true. Like, where's all this money coming from? Give me some. What the hell?
Okay, Walter White. That's my assumption. I'm not going to make any assumptions about anyone. But
no.
There was the same sort of thing. There was a girl who was in jail because she was part of like a drive-by shooting that killed someone. Yeah. And then she got out and she was living here in this town, And then she lit the person she was living with on fire last year.
Crazy ass people.
I'm like, this is insanity. Insane. Like, there has to be, like, I'm sure there's overcrowding in the prison systems.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
I'm sure, but there has to be a better way to keep people.
Yeah.
That need to be kept.
Higher bond, I guess.
I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just a girl who makes a podcast and goes to work. But it seems like there's a lot of senseless crimes that are being committed by people who should not be out with the general public.
Yeah.
I mean, this story is one of them.
This story, yeah.
Is definitely one of them. And you see, like, the repercussions of when people are out.
Yeah.
You know, like, this guy went and killed someone else. And
that's the only one he got caught doing. I mean, this guy was older and did this. I don't think that's your first crime when you're, like, in your 60s and you chop off someone's arms. He had to have been doing this beforehand, too.
And it had to be some form of premeditated.
Yeah.
You know, because he gave her a drink.
Right.
Who knows what was in that drink.
Yeah. She doesn't know. She just remembers it tasted sort of like alcohol, is what she said.
Yeah, like...
So, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway...
Anywho, after that,
you can find us on Instagram at
The Murder Mamas
and Twitter at
The Murder Mamas.
And you can email us at themurdermamas@gmail.com. Is that it?
There's
and Facebook at the M Mamas.
Because you can't say murder.
Because you can't say murder. No.
Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.